Shirley, what we're going to do is we're going to create a 10-part series for a world of people that you're committed to supporting. Who we're talking about is human beings who've chosen sobriety. So what we need to do is we need to talk about, in this video, we need to talk about who you are, who I am, what we're going to provide for people, and what some of the problems are. So when you choose sobriety, why do people relapse? When you choose sobriety, why then are you left anxious or scared and dead? Why is that so common? And why is it I choose sobriety and I'm less able to be effective? Or, what would you like to talk about?
You can start right there because that's me. I can see myself right there. I've chosen sobriety. And inside of that, of choosing sobriety, Pete, I was sober for a long time and very angry. I was sober and I was depressed. I was sober and I felt like I wasn't going anywhere in my life except staying sober. Like I knew how to stay sober, but I didn't know any other parts of my life. I didn't build on any other areas of my life except for sobriety, meaning getting up every day and not drinking or using drugs and doing that every day for a substantial amount of time. And I wasn't choosing anything else in my life. So I didn't know, I didn't really know that anything else existed except for staying sober. I thought I knew how to be a mom, because you get up and you be a mom, right? Because you have a child. But I wasn't really being a mom. I didn't know, I just knew how to stay sober. I knew how to help other people stay sober. And that was it. That was it in my life.
And why is that?
I believe it was because all I knew was inside of 12 steps. And 12 steps is great. I love 12 steps. 12 steps is where I come from. Okay. And I've helped a lot of people through 12 steps. And in 12 steps, there's no creation for feeling my feelings. And it was okay to have those feelings. I literally didn't know and I didn't have access to them. And so therefore I can see, looking back in retrospect, back in my sobriety, how I just stayed angry because there was no way I could get out of that anger except to do it and do it recklessly. Meaning I would have my anger and I'd still go to jail in sobriety because I didn't know what to do with my anger. Or I would be depressed and have to see my psychiatrist and get medication. That's the only avenues that I had access to. And
how many people do you interact with today who are in a similar place to where you were?
Lots of people. I want to say over 100. Easy.
And share with me what you see.
So when I see them, I see myself in the past, how they're not creating their lives. They're staying still angry and they're still not building in their sobriety of, it's okay to have your feelings and not to use drugs over them or go to jail over them. They don't know. What I'm trying to say to you, Pete, is they don't know. They don't have access to it. I feel like there's not enough information for them to know or gain access to that.
Yeah. So when you say there's not enough information for people to know or gain access to that, I don't know what that is. I don't know what you mean.
like having a feeling and being okay with having that feeling. Like that's okay to feel angry and have that anger in a healthy way and not have, not have to do what we as addicts always do with our anger and our feelings.
Which is what? Hurt ourselves or hurt others?
Yes.
Shame
Yes.
ourselves, shame others.
Yes. And then ride on the guilt with it too. We guilt ourselves unbelievably. We carry a lot of guilt,
When you look at where you came from and or you look at folks you're supporting today in sobriety, like you say, the 100 people, right? You look at the 100 people, you're seeing what?
I see sadness.
So what you're talking about, sober folks who are
Yes.
sad.
Yes.
Okay, why? Why are you seeing sobriety and sadness?
Because there's more. There's more to just staying sober.
Right,
And
but hang on, but you don't have access to that more unless you're sober.
right. Well, what I'm learning is that, but we're talking about people that are sober, right? That use drugs and alcohol.
Right. So yeah, that's right. We're talking about folks, that's correct, who are already sober. That's right.
Right. Yeah. So what I'm saying is like, so there's a lot of sadness in their lives. There's a lot of, there's still a lot of, um, there's still a lot of wreckage there in their lives that they can't seem to put back together in their lives. Like, again, like for me, they know how to stay sober, but that's it. Like, they don't know that there's more into sobriety that I found in my life that is possible for their lives too.
Well, why don't we do that? Why don't you introduce yourself?
Okay.
And talk about your history.
Okay.
And then talk about some of the experiences that you had with me.
Okay. Okay. So, I guess I'll start with my name, right? Or no?
Yeah. Start with your name. Introduce yourself. My name is Shirley Barr.
Yeah. So my name is Shirley Barr, and I am a heroin addict, and I'm sober. I was sober for 10 years inside of 12 steps, and I was living my life inside of 12 steps, and 12 steps is great. I love 12 steps, and it's where I come from, and I help a lot of people inside of 12 steps also. But what I found out was, okay, so I was sober for 10 years and I relapsed after 10 years. And after my relapse, I was able to get back in the game again of sobriety and staying sober again, and was able to put together another 5 years. And then what happened to me was I was sitting in my house, and I remember sitting here saying, oh my God, this just can't be all to my life. Like, I'm going to relapse again. So that's a total of 15 years of my life in sobriety with one relapse, and I'm headed for another relapse.
I'm in sobriety, maybe I'm a year into sobriety. And I was once really inspired by my participation in 12 steps. And now I'm starting to feel a little dead. And so what I'm doing is I'm doing more meditation. I'm doing more asking God, praying to God. I'm doing more sponsorship. And yet I still feel pretty dead.
Yeah.
What would you like to say to that person?
I would like to say to that person that, first of all, I understand that because I was once in that place also, being in sobriety. And, I feared another relapse because, I wasn't creating my life. And I was just still feeling so angry and dead. And, and I was praying and meditating, and those things stopped working for me after a while. And what I want to share with you and the world is there's more to our sobriety than what we really know. Like, besides meditating, besides not drinking and using drugs, there's so much more to creating our lives in our world of sobriety.
Well, let's talk about that. Let's talk about what's available for people after choosing sobriety. right? What the additions are. So in addition to meditation, in addition to my relationship to God, in addition to the sobriety work that I'm doing, sponsorship, um, inventory, right? In addition to all of that, what do you see is, what would you like to share with people?
What I would like to share with people is my experience of what happened with me. And what happened to me is I started doing this awesome training with I can say right, TMD, Transform Mind Dynamics. And
You're not allowed to say that.
okay, so we can edit that part out, right?
No, I'm just teasing. So yeah, so you participated with me, and
yes, I participated with this asshole. No, I participated with this awesome guy. His name is Pete Lotterhos.
I like asshole. I thought that was real for you.
Well, fucker, really. But yeah, like that's where the creation of my sobriety started. Like I knew, and once you've been sober, we know, and us sober people know that after a while we lose access to what leads us right back to, like, we lose access to, like, 12 steps is great. Like, I love 12 steps. It's where I come from. And I want to say, though, we still are left with those feelings of all those emotions of what led us to use in the very first place that we once used and continue to use over. And for me, that was the inability to feel my feelings and use my trauma. And when I speak to trauma, I'm talking about, like, in my past with my rape and my incest abuse in my family. They're the reasons I believed I used over. But really, it was because I had all these feelings and emotions. And I didn't know what the hell to do with them except to use or act out on them, like anger. Like, I always went to jail when I act out anger. You know, I didn't know what to do with those feelings. After being sober 15 years, I still had all those feelings and wasn't doing anything. I was dead inside. I was angry inside. I wasn't creating my life at all.
That's awesome. So what you're saying to people is that they can transition from a primary focus of sobriety and adding to that the ability to create one's life, like transforming my relationship to my feelings, or transforming the relationship to my family and my ability to create money or physical health.
Yes.
I got it. So
emotional health, yes.
How do you know what you're saying is true? How do you know, like, what is the answer? Tell these people the work they need to do. Will you please stop being vague and hiding? And people need an answer.
Okay. So when you're sober and you're feeling dead and you want more to your life, you want more to your sobriety, this is the opportunity that I'm speaking to, that you'll have an opportunity to work with your own feelings and learn about your feelings and learn who you really are and your identity, and how, most of all, the most important thing for me was to know that I had choices in my life and how I get to create those choices in my life. Like, literally, when I wake up in the morning, I'm sober and I'm alive for the first time in my life. I'm alive. I had this relationship with my children that I never thought would be possible, because, you know, some things I learned about myself is, like, I am selfish. And when I was in having conversations with my children, it was all for me. Like, I am such a selfish person, and I learned this about myself. And guess what? It's okay. Like, I don't beat myself up anymore. I don't make myself this.
But hang on, you knew you were selfish the moment you entered into 12 steps. 12 steps nails down your selfishness immediately. See, I don't think you're saying anything new. That's what you're saying for me in 12 steps isn't new. I already know I'm selfish. Every single person in 12 steps knows they're selfish. Is that true or not true?
No, not everybody, but here's the correlation for me. To know it is one thing. To write it on paper is another thing. But to go inside of a training and explore that with a community of people is something I've never done in my life, ever, nowhere in my life.
But I have no idea what you're saying. And I have no idea about the work you're talking about. And I have no idea about what is after 12 steps.
I'm
I
talking
do not
about,
have a specific example of something different. When you say to me selfish, I already know I'm selfish. When you say to me, I haven't explored it with other people, I don't know what that means. I've explored it in 12-step meetings. I've told other people I'm selfish. People have told me they're selfish.
okay, so when I'm
Do
speaking
you understand
to,
what I'm saying?
yeah, I understand what you're saying. I know I'm being vague. That's the skill set that I'm learning inside of this training that I'm doing, is how to speak a certain way and how to listen for speaking. And I can't do that inside of 12 steps. I don't learn that anywhere else except for the trainings I'm doing. What I'm speaking to is, it's called TMD, Transformational Mind Dynamics. And there are trainings that I've personally done. Inside of these trainings is a community of people just like me. I am just like them. And inside of these trainings, we get to explore together what it means to really be selfish. And I'm not talking about just speak it. I'm talking about we get to really like go through the process of being selfish and what that means and how I get to correlate that. I don't have to change it or fix it. I can be selfish but I can do it in a way that works for me and my family, the people I love around me. So I'm talking about, like, in the past, I would be selfish and I would be bitchy being selfish. Like, I want what I want when I want it, and damn it, I want it right now, so I better get it right now. I'm not talking about that kind of selfish. I'm talking about knowing I'm selfish, working through that selfishness, and finding a place for that selfishness that I no longer afflict on my family and make them do what I want them to do. I get to work through being selfish through the trainings, and then I get to explore it with the people in the trainings and with my family members. That's what I'm talking about when I speak to selfish.
So you're talking about building an awareness of being selfish.
Yes, I'm talking about really seeing my selfishness, building an awareness. Yes.
Can you give me some examples that are beyond the traditional understanding of selfish?
I gave my son a list, for example, to go food shopping, and I wanted strawberries was on the list. And so when he went and he didn't get me strawberries and he came back with all this other food, I got so angry with him. I cursed at him. I acted like, oh my God, I acted like this retard that really like didn't make any sense when I really look at it now. And really what I was mad about was that I gave him the money and he bought other food with that money, and that's why he didn't get the strawberries. And plus the strawberries were not right in the store. That's what he told me. So when I looked at that, I was like, oh wow, I really acted like a complete asshole because I wanted them fucking strawberries. And it didn't matter what he was saying to me, like, Mom, they didn't have the strawberries, weren't ripe, and I used the money to get the rest of the food and blah, 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 blah. I wanted them fucking strawberries. So inside of that, I got to see how selfish I was over strawberries, and selfish in being selfish with him because he did get the food, you know, and that's when I really got about how selfish I am or was at that time.
That's great.
Yeah.
So you're looking at, you know, exploring what a lot of people see as subtleties, small examples of selfishness that go unnoticed.
Yeah.
What did you do with that? What did you do with that insight that you created with him?
I had a conversation with him, which that's something I would have never done. I literally went back and had a conversation with him about the strawberries and was able to say, listen, I see that, you know, I was being really crazy about them strawberries. And, you know, I see that you did spend the rest of the money on the food for the house. And I'm sorry. Like, that's hard for me to say I'm sorry and really mean it. Like, that's huge for me. And that's what I got out of the trainings that I've been in with TMD.
And what's going on today? What's it like to interact with your son today?
to interact with my son today is, wow, like we have conversations. I still have to walk away sometimes, it's not perfect. I don't want anybody to think it's perfect, because it's not, but it's a hell of a lot different than it was. Like I can still be selfish, and I get to go back and we talk about it. And I actually listen when he tells me his side. Like that's something I never did either, would listen to the part when somebody's telling me I'm selfish. Like I really see when he points it out to me when I'm being selfish. And then we get to conversate about that. We have a conversation about it. And then that's how we separate from the conversation. So I'm no longer angry at him or being selfish in that moment with him. And, I'm not cursing or acting like a mad woman either. Yeah, I'm excited that I'm actually that I can actually feel that irregardless of what my mind is telling me, like I'm pushing through it. I'm pushing through it. I'm sitting here with my heart is racing. Oh my God, my stomach is flipping. My fingers are twiddling. Like my toes are going a mile a minute down here. And I'm still staying with it because I'm fighting it. Like I know I'm going to get through this. I'm going to push myself through it. And it helps that you're on the other side of the screen too.
Thank you.
Seriously. Yeah.
You're doing great.